Can you all hear me okay?
Hey, Dr. Cap. Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. How do I sound?
Good.
Oh, you're sounding really good.
Okay, good.
I think I'm just waiting for Ruben. He's asking.
Hello.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Lisi. How's it going?
It's good. It's good. How are you guys?
I'm good. I'm
Good.
good. Let me just send Ruben the co-host invite as well. Is Ruben in the room with us? Oh, there he is.
Yes.
There he
Yes.
is. Cool. Hang on. Just add him. Hey, Ruben. Can you hear us? Ooh. Hey, Ruben.
Hi, Ruben.
Hey, yeah, I requested but wasn't sure why it wasn't going through. But yeah, great to be here.
Hey, Ruben.
Awesome.
Good to be here with you guys.
Yeah, good to see you.
Shall I get things started?
Yes.
Cool.
I think Lisi would like to. Our organizer would like to say a few words. Yeah.
Of course, Lisi, go for it.
We need to introduce her first. Remember?
Let's see, Lisi, and I always say MCK, but this is Lisi, who is our lead producer, an absolute legend, has worked behind the scenes with us for a long time to make the Privacy Roundtable happen. And she's an absolute diamond of a gem. But no, seriously, absolute diamond of a gem in kind of keeping the show on the road for the last few years. So, Lisi, love to have you on. I think it's the first time you're actually speaking live in one of these. So, really curious to see what you got to say. Go for it.
Well, yes, as you know, it's only been a bit of a chicken for the past 2.5 years. So, but today I thought, no, it's time. It's time. First of all, I'd just like to thank all the listeners and everybody that has helped us grow over the last 2.5 years. It's meant a lot to, I call them the boys because I'm the old one around here. But it's meant a lot to all of us that you take the time out of, your Thursdays or whatever day it is to listen in. I appreciate that. We also know that privacy is under, what would you like to say? Under
Assault.
Assault. Thank you. Yes, under assault right now. So it's even more important.
I seem to have lost her. Is it something my connection?
Yes, I'm hearing Lisi.
I'm hearing Lisi as well.
Just because Ruben
Carry
doesn't
on,
like
Lisi.
me. It's okay. It's just because Ruben doesn't like me. But anyway, I'm kidding. So yes, it's under assault. So it just brings forth that how important this roundtable is. And with that, I'd just like to encourage anybody that if you have a privacy project or if you have a privacy topic that you feel is important for us to get out, please message me under the Pivx official account. And just, you don't need to say Lacey Mick, just say, hey, I think this is a great topic. We'd really appreciate it because we want to keep growing with everybody and especially now. And just one more thank you, and that's just to the guys that 2.5 years ago when I suggested this group, they said, yes, let's do it. I'm just in awe and I'm honored that they have, grown along with me with this and that I've been able to learn so much. So anyway, thank you so much, all of you guys. I appreciate it. Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So nice to hear you. Very nice voice as well.
Really appreciate that, Lisi. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. So welcome to the 17th of September 2025 edition of the Privacy Roundtable. With us are your regular hosts for this. I'm Dr. Cap. I am the lead advisor to Basic Swap Decks and one of the key advisors to the Particle project. So I like to position ourselves as the world's most decentralized, secure, and privacy-focused decentralized atomic swap exchange. We like to think of ourselves as the Swiss banking of Forex and e-commerce at the Particle project and Basic Swap Decks. Ruben, you are connecting right now. Perhaps an issue there, Oh, you are here. Excellent. Well, Ruben, over to you. Would you kindly introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, I'm Ruben. I'm from the Firo project, formerly known as Zcoin. We've been around and building our own privacy protocol since 2016. And yeah, I'm actually super sleep deprived. I think I only had like 2 or 3 hours of sleep. So forgive me if I'm going to be a little bit woozy. But yeah, glad to be here. I also started a VPN service in 2007, back when it wasn't hip yet. So really excited to have like I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but MeileDVPN on as well. Yeah.
That's how you got your start in the privacy space, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
And Yen?
Sure. I'm Yenichar. I'm part of the PivX community. PivX is a proof of stake master node coin that focuses on privacy.
And our special guest for today, can I just confirm? Is it MeileDVPN? I want to get this
it's
right.
Actually, that's close enough. It's Meila is how you
Meila.
pronounce it. Meila.
Nice.
Yeah.
Totally not close at all. You're just being kind.
Yeah, no, I was going to go with meal, but Meila. I like that. So, would you just be able to sort of introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about MeileDVPN? That would be a really good way to start things off.
And the origin of the name Meila, too, please.
Okay, yeah. So I'm Freaknik. I'm the lead developer behind Meila. We got our start 4 years ago. It's powered by the Sentinel blockchain, which is an L1 in the Cosmos ecosystem. And its focus was primarily on privacy as a privacy network, a hub for DVPN, decentralized VPN networks. It has branched out to decentralized node scraping for AI agents. So that is another aspect to the network as well. And like I said, we started 4 years ago in November. It'll be 4 years in November is when we started. We broke ground on Meila as a terminal user interface, just something you run in the console with a user interface. That was in February 2022. And then Sentinel approached me directly and asked if I wanted to seek a grant to develop a full GUI software. And they accepted the grant proposal, and we've been producing ever since. So we're on our 4th year, our 1st leg here, and we're really happy to be able to bring decentralized VPN to the community at large with private payments.
And can I just ask, what privacy focused payments do you currently accept?
So we started off initially with Now payments back last year. Ruben and his team accepted our proposal for integration of Firo into the payment system, and it was through the payment processor Now Payments. But shortly after Now Payments integration broke, and they haven't been able to fix it, or well, their support is really bad. But so we decided to go a different route. Back in June, we integrated in-app payments with Pirate Chain, and so basically it presents a QR code, a one-time address, and it connects. It uses our API, which talks to the RPC on a different server, and it presents a payment QR code payment. And it was such a big success that I decided to roll it out to Firo, PivX, and this week it'll be Xano as well. So I was really happy to get the Firo integration because I'm a big fan of all these coins. Anything that enables privacy for the users is justified in our book. And so I was since we received the grant for Firo to integrate it in our app, I figured, well, it'd be better if we could just do in-app Spark payments because Now Payments didn't allow Spark. And then since that worked, we decided to do PivX as well with in-app shielded payments. And then we're integrating Xano as well. We have the integration done for that, but the builds will probably be out in a week. And I just want to say that the origin of Meila, since I didn't say it in the last topic, was it's an Estonian word that means for us. So that's where that derives from.
So are you guys
Nice.
kind of I was nice. I was also going to say, sort of, are you guys are your development team primarily based in Estonia, or is it sort of an Estonian origins type project? Because Estonia is really forward-thinking country when it comes to sort of a tech in general.
Well, actually, what it was when I started hosting. Initially, I started hosting nodes on Sentinel because at this point in time in 2021, I didn't have much money, and I was just looking for ways like to garner money in the crypto space. And I started hosting nodes. And I was like, well, I need a new handle. I need a new alias because my old one was kind of compromised. And I was like, so I just came up with stuff, and I looked. I always had a fascination with Eastern Europe, to be honest. I'm based in the U.S., but I always had a fascination with Eastern Europe. So I started researching Estonia, and that's just where that came from. It was just kind of a shot in the dark. But what was really odd about it was when I said that Melee comes from Estonian, the other lead developer, the other white label on Sentinel, is actually living in Estonia. So that was kind of an odd coincidence. But yeah, that's how that got started.
That's pretty cool. Actually, that is a very odd coincidence. But I just want to ask you a few general things. Could you tell me a bit more about sort of the privacy architecture behind Mailer? I think it's implied from DVPN, but if you could kind of elaborate on that a bit more, could you tell us a bit more about how Mailer helps to preserve privacy and how that compares to other VPN solutions?
Yeah, so Melee is a decentralized VPN, which means that in traditional VPNs, all the servers, the exit nodes that you connect to, like in Mulvad or I don't even want to say Nord because that's at this point that's really compromised. But their servers are controlled by a central entity, right? So they control all their servers. They either rent them or buy them, and they have access to every server and can view logs, even if they say there is no logs. We all know that you have to log, you know, system metrics to know how the users are pushing your system, so you can either upgrade or do things like that. But so in Sentinel, it's a decentralized VPN. So all the nodes are hosted by anybody that can come along and spin up a node on a VPS or even at their house if they're brave enough. And a lot of people actually have spun up nodes at their house. We have like 500 residential nodes, and so they get rewarded in the native token, which is or native coin, which is P2P. Um, and so when a user connects to a node, they subscribe to it. Say you can subscribe either by month or by hourly payments. So if you only want a node for 1 day, you can subscribe for that, or you can subscribe based on gigabyte. So if you want, if you're going to download a large torrent or something, you might want like 34 gigs, and you pay directly to the node. A subscription transaction is set on chain, and then when you connect to the node, a session is created on chain with the node, and it allows the node to verify that the end user is connecting, and they fetch the credentials from the node itself, and then it establishes a connection. And we have two protocols that we use in Sentinel. The first one is the standard WireGuard, which is very fast and good connectivity rates and all that. And the second one we introduced in February of 2023, which is called V2Ray. And a lot of people aren't familiar with this protocol because it's not widely used outside of China and Iran. Um, it's a privacy. It's a tunnel protocol that was developed by Chinese engineers about 8 or 9 years ago in order to circumvent the Great Firewall of China, and it's been proven successfully in China that it works to circumvent the firewall. And so we have a large Asian user base and a lot of Chinese users that are looking for a route to access an uncensored internet. And so in 2023, in February, they integrated V2Ray, and it's proven to work in Iran. However, within the last about 6 months, Iran has been able to use DPI, deep packet inspection, to know that somebody's using a V2Ray connection or something similar to that. And I had an Iranian user that we have part of the Sentinel community, he tested some alternate configurations with V2Ray, and we were able in Mela, we were the first project in Sentinel to do it. We used a new client called X-Ray, which is the same thing as V2Ray. However, it allows for packet obfuscation. And so this allowed a circumvention of the Iranian deep packet inspection, and it proved connection. It proved successful in Iran. So we're really trying to spread an uncensored internet throughout any country in the world, um, to bring it to its citizens to be able to access a wide internet that anybody else can access. And V2Ray has proved scalable and successful in implementing that.
Does V2Ray, how does it work? Does it like mimic regular web traffic, or what is its secret sauce or magic sauce?
You might be asking the wrong person on that. I don't know the inner work. Yeah, I don't know the actual like specifications of the protocol, but it creates so basically it creates what the client does is it fetches the credentials, and it has like a unique UUID to authenticate the user, and you create a SOCKS client on the user machine, so port 1080, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it filters through SOCKS to the connected V2Ray protocol on the node side. I think it uses SHA-SHA-20 encryption. I'm almost certain of that because I do remember seeing that, but I don't know how it circumvents packet filtering, but I don't know the inner workings of the protocol. It's a very deep project. There's a lot of forks of it. X-Ray was one of the big forks that have been like more prominent in China and Iran and in other countries. But I should really look into that because it would be helpful to understand how it's able to bypass those kind of restrictions. So maybe I'll look into that within the next week or so, just to see if I can get an understanding of the deep insights of it.
Yeah, it sounds great.
It does. I had a general question. You said every time you create a session, does it leave an imprint on the Sentinel blockchain? So is that correct?
Yeah, so that is correct. So that's one of the reasons why we introduced Monero and privacy coins, because then the wallet address in Mela that is associated with a connection is not associated with you at all, with your payment at all, because the wallet is created by the user, but all the funds come directly from Mela. So it's like a fee grant, right? So any creation with that wallet on the Sentinel blockchain has no traceback because you used a privacy coin. Or even if you use Bitcoin too, it still wouldn't have a link back to the end user. So yes, it does, because Sentinel is not a private, an encrypted blockchain. It does leave a transaction because it has to coordinate with the nodes, which create an update status on the blockchain. So using privacy coins enables basically just a kind of a ghost wallet. There's no connection with any outside entity that is using that wallet to connect to nodes on the Sentinel blockchain.
That makes a lot of sense, and that kind of makes a lot of sense why. I guess what you're saying is you should be using privacy coins to make the most out of the MeileDVPN. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So there is another way. So if you're using the native coin, which is P2P, a project which is kind of in dire straits right now is called Penumbra. It's on Cosmos, and it's a fully shielded. So every transaction is a Z address transaction. It's a fully shielded smart contract L1 on Cosmos, and so we wrote an article about 2 months ago that if you want true anonymity when using any of the Sentinel projects, is that you want to shield your payment through Penumbra, because it'll, and whenever you shield transactions, the longer it stays in the shielded pool, the more privacy it gains, right? Because then it doesn't have time correlation and all that stuff. If you're just shielding something and unshielding a minute later with the same amount, it's kind of obvious
It's
to correlate.
obvious.
Yeah. So you want to be able to have like a week or even like a day, just so the chain has enough traffic generated. So when you withdraw from the shielded pool, it'll be a different amount, not the same amount. You don't want to do that. And then you can pay for Sentinel that way, and that will give you full privacy on a transparent chain. I know that sounds strange, but it's because the shielded pool, it works the same way as Zcash or Firo, Pivx, or anything like that. So I really hope that the Penumbra network gets a sponsor foundation or something, because it's in dire straits right now. The Penumbra Labs shut down operations, and it's a great network, and Cosmos absolutely needs privacy. There is Namada as well, but that uses more of a transparent and shielded uh, addresses. But there you can shield through IBC with Namada. So as long as one of those succeeds, I'd prefer for both of them to, because the more privacy networks, the better for everybody. So I hope Penumbra can pull through. It's hardship right now.
Okay, no, that's much heard and appreciate it. I've just got a couple of other questions though, just related. You said about, it sounds like anyone can basically spin up a node of MeileDVPN, and he said it'd be brave. Maybe I'm misquoting here, but brave. If you're brave enough to run one from home. Why did you say that specifically? Are there any potential risks to running a home node, or is there any impact on user privacy? Just wanted to kind of get my head around that.
Yeah. So when you're sharing anything with strangers, you have to have a little mindset about what the possibilities could be, right? So it doesn't matter if it's internet or anything. There could be, I'm not saying there will be, but there could be a stranger that comes along and abuses the service, right? So when you're running from your home, that's a direct link to your identity. So when you have users sharing your internet traffic, you have to be mindful of the fact that there could be potentially a malicious user. Now, we haven't had any yet on the Sentinel blockchain other than torrenting, which is an easy, you'll get one strike from your ISP. If you're on your home network, you'll get a strike, and they say, if you do it again, we'll cancel your service. My friends have had that happen. But there is kind of a way around that. So if you take the risk, and it's a calculated risk, right? Because the more people that run nodes from their house, it'll ultimately change the landscape of the internet as a whole, because you won't know who's using a VPN. There's all these websites that say you can't use a VPN, and they use intelligence services like IP2location.io or MaxMind databases that categorize IP addresses based on if it's in a data center, if it's a residential ISP, if it's a university, if it's a military, etc. And so if the more people that run nodes from their house and take the calculated risk, if they want to do that, it really changes the landscape of the internet as a whole, because you have no way of knowing what user is connected through a VPN or what one's actually coming from their actual landline. And so there is ways around to mitigate the risks. The best way, in my opinion, and this is actually what MathNodes has done, is to form a nonprofit organization based on humanitarian needs. So in your statement, when you form a nonprofit organization, you have to make a statement of what your mission is as a nonprofit. And ours was to focus on humanitarian needs surrounding privacy on the internet and elsewhere. That's the short of it. And so that allows us to host nodes as a nonprofit humanitarian organization, with the enrichment of privacy for individual citizens. And so if you want to host, multiple nodes on VPSs, say 25 or more, I really suggest either forming an LLC around it or a nonprofit, because truth be told, an LLC, limited liability company, or a nonprofit actually has more rights than an individual citizen when it comes to these things. So to protect yourself and your investments and your privacy, it's really good to form something like that. If you're doing a major operation for privacy and stuff like that, it's just good to protect yourself in those areas.
I've just got to ask, that's really interesting because I've never heard that before. So an LLC has more rights than the individual. Could you perhaps elaborate in what specific ways?
Yeah,
More
because
rights besides just being able to walk away from it and not have financial loss?
yeah, so you're operating as a business, so you have like an entity organization that has a mission statement, right? So your mission statement is we're going to provide privacy and hopefully profit off of it. And so you have like a legal kind of, you're still obligated for what people do on your nodes, but you kind of you have a way to uh, move through the I guess criminal system as an organization or a business that is providing privacy for the users, whereas a citizen kind of is just like they don't have the same organization structure as a business does, uh, as an obligation for its clients. So a citizen just kind of is in. I don't know if this is a legal thing. It's just how it's kind of how I see it, and with cases that have formed over the years. If you guys noticed yesterday, there was news about a Tor relay operator, an exit node operator in I think it was the state of Michigan, who was raided by the FBI, and he wasn't operating as a business. The FBI approached him, and they wanted access to his Tor exit node, and he said no. And so they raided his house and threatened to kill his dogs, and yeah. So as an individual, they can do whatever you want. As a business, you will get a formal letter from a Justice Department saying cease operations before they target your home and raid it. So I think as a business or LLC, especially, or as uh, a nonprofit, I think has the most rights because you're doing a
Well,
humanitarian aid.
yeah, no, it's just interesting you say that. Just I'm thinking this because Ruben, you are a lawyer. I just want to check from my perspective here. Firstly, does that all add up, Ruben? And secondly, my thought process there is, I guess, if you're operating as an LLC or a non-profit, then you can register that to a different location to your personal address, and then any legal action then go towards that LLC or non-profit at that specific location rather than you personally to your house. Is that a fair thing to say or assume?
I'm not so sure whether again, this is not my area of expertise, so I'm not so sure whether LLC offers thing, but I actually have personal experience that I've been raided by police as well. And it was because someone was using my internet connection to deal with CSAM distribution as well. So I am very, very scared of running any sort of VPN, and someone who used to run a VPN service. Having it in your home, especially in Malaysia where the laws are reverse burden of proof. That means if something comes from your IP address, you actually have to prove that it wasn't you. Otherwise, it is presumed that it was you. So, yeah, if you're Malaysian, please don't go and host a VPN service or a Tor exit node on your home connection, because I was raided because one of my tenants used my internet connection that was under my name to distribute that, and it was a really a bit of a nightmare. And the police did not protect my privacy at all. They were telling people left, right, center. My friends found out that I was being raided before I found out that I was being raided. They were like, "Hey, Ruben, is
Wow.
everything okay? Because there's some policemen from the headquarters, from the capital, that say they're here to catch you." And I'm like, "What? I haven't heard about that."
Wow.
And then next thing, a few hours later, they show up at my office with 8 officers, and they come to the law firm that I work in and say like, "Yo, yeah, we're here to get your lawyer because he's been distributing this pornography." Right. And yeah, I mean, wonderful wonderful thing that it has done for my reputation, right? Obviously, it was quickly cleared out. I had evidence that I had a tenant, that I wasn't staying there with the internet connection. I even previously lodged a police report on that tenant. So luckily I had those kind of evidence, but what if I didn't, right? And it was just like a huge wake-up call for me. And I was like, I'm not going to host any sort of service that may get my IP address tainted for some reasons. Yeah.
Wait,
So
Ruben, question. Was this your origin story for like your involvement in privacy on a greater level? Like,
I think it
or
was one
part
of
of
the
it?
turning points. I mean, I was already hosting a VPN service, so I had thought that it was, oh, maybe, it's my VPN service that has got me into trouble. But then when I was like, wait a minute, they're not coming after my company, they're coming after me personally. And I was like, wait, my internet connection, the one that is registered under my name, the one that I have is actually being managed by my tenant, is being used by my tenant and not me personally. So yeah, I mean, definitely all this kind of like, I've been like the target of like government action when I am a really law-abiding citizen. So after going through all of this, I'm just like, man, I really need privacy, and I really distrust a government acting in the best interests of the individual, right? So yeah, that's kind of part of my origin story, I guess. Yeah.
if I could say one thing, yeah. So to Ruben's point is that if you're sharing your internet, you have to prove that it was used by somebody else, right? So that is why having a transparent blockchain for the session creation on Sentinel is so tantamount, because you have that transaction that shows that some user, we don't know who, has used this our node at such and such a time. So if it was on a private, fully shielded chain, I guess there could be a way to do that with ZK proofs or something to show that there was a session created by a different user at such and such time. But that's one of the things I've written about, was that there is that transaction that you can refer to, and this was used on the Mysterium network. I guess a couple users in Germany were rated for CSAM material as well, because they were hosting nodes from their house, and the Mysterium provided the law enforcement with the session transactions, and they were cleared of wrongdoing. So it is important that those transactions are viewable for any kind of legal troubles that may arise.
Yeah, but I would say that even if you're innocent, the whole process it's
Yeah,
really bad. It's really
you
bad.
don't want to have to go through that.
Yeah, no.
I've had the FBI contact me multiple times. I have a business card of the director in my region that I met, and you don't want to go through any of that stuff. It's because they will make your life very hard, very difficult, and just try to stay away from stuff like that.
Yeah, freaking miserable life.
I think it's really interesting because it's almost like, I know we talk a lot about privacy focused solutions, and depending on where you are on that spectrum, you're either really hardcore in terms of everything must be private, or you tend to be softer and be like, okay, we need to. And it's almost like this kind of almost reveals that actually there is a very real limit to how privacy can, like the degree of privacy can almost limit your safety in a situation like this. So if you had a service that didn't have those sort of measures in place with the timestamping, you don't have any evidence. That's an unintended. That's scary, and that the whole conversation is scary. But that was an unintended consequence. I hadn't really considered that. Something I just wanted to, I kind of don't really know where to go from there. The thing I was going to ask you before we kind of spun out into that was, things to do with what's the actual performance of Mailer like. But actually, one thing I just wanted to point out is it's all fair to say that the system becomes much more anti-fragile as more and more people host nodes. Is that kind of what you're getting at? In spite of everything we've just discussed, if everyone was to host a Mailer node, a Mailer DVPN node, then the whole internet would, in theory, basically become a fully decentralized VPN. Is that a reasonable thing to say?
Yeah, I think that's a good analysis of it. And just to correct you, it's not a Mela node; it's a Sentinel node. So we're just a white label that developed the client interface. But so yeah, I think you have that right. Is that if more people host nodes, it spreads the user base out to a much larger audience, right? Node runner audience. So the probability that somebody uses yours specifically for an illegal act reduces, right? And also it does enable more of a decentralized internet, I guess you could say, that you can't predict where somebody's coming from as a residential ISP, where they're actually located, and if they were using a data center or a home internet connection.
So I have a question for Freaknik. Like it kind of follows up the earlier discussion of, like, you're getting contacted by the FBI and so forth. What, like, as a mental model, for what percentage of, like, the traditional VPN providers are compromised? I mean, I kind of have this model, just like you've been contacted. They all get contacted, right? How many like give in and track and give information, and how many resist that in your mind, if you had to guess?
So I'd say at some point or another, every centralized VPN has been compromised. I think I've watched CryptoStorm's Canary. They post a Canary request that if they get any warrants, it's signed by their PGP key. I haven't seen anything, but I don't check every month, so I don't know. But I think at some point or another, because you're a centralized entity that controls the nodes, and there will be a user that some country, it doesn't have to be US, it can be any country, has interest in somebody using their services. They can issue a warrant and monitor the traffic on that centralized node service provided by a traditional VPN. So in a decentralized, all the nodes can't be compromised. That's nearly impossible. Like you can't say impossible, but it's nearly impossible because, first off, a lot of people register nodes anonymously with a VPS provider and pay in crypto and use fake names to register the service. So the traceback is, if somebody's using node XYZ in country, in Germany or something, and they've registered a VPS for that node under a false name and paying crypto, it's really difficult to be able to compromise that node if you're a law enforcement. And so I think that's what's really nice. And you don't have to be doing anything illegal to have your node compromised. You might just be a person of interest for somebody who's dissenting from the state, right? So it happens in every country in the world. There are political figures that, they had a FBI dossier on Albert Einstein. They have FBI dossiers on anybody who dissents. They investigate you and they can get warrants to monitor your internet traffic, and it happens all the time. And so in a decentralized VPN, it's very hard to compromise. I mean, almost impossible to compromise every node.
That makes sense. Is the process with the centralized nodes that they're typically not keeping logs, so it's not like they could show up with a warrant and get past information on somebody they hadn't expressed interest in before. They show up and then the tracking starts after they show up. Is that how it would typically unfold?
Well, I'm not law enforcement, but every company has to log something, right? You have to know how well your servers are performing. So when your peak hours are, right? So when your peak hours are, when most users connect. So you have some data, maybe not exact IP address log nodes, because that's you don't want to log any of that stuff just because you want to cover your own ass. But yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah. So if a user who's being investigated by a law enforcement connects to a centralized VPN, the law enforcement can issue a warrant for that VPN to monitor the traffic on the nodes for when the user connects. So it would be, I call them forward warrants, where they analyze the traffic in a forward process and see what
Got it.
the user's doing on the end side of that.
Got it. Yeah. Thanks.
How would you prevent those people hosting the VPN nodes from individually logging? Because obviously, is it some sort of multi-hop setup, or is it just like, oh yeah, the community is going to be acting honestly, and most of these people are not going to turn on logging? I guess, like, I just wonder how you think about this threat model, or is it not a problem with your system at all? Yeah.
So in any decentralized network, there will be malicious users that host nodes, right? We saw this with Monero, where Chainalysis was hosting malicious Monero nodes to gain IP addresses of transactions users submitted to their nodes. So to mitigate that, there's really no benefit for a standard user who's hosting a node to log traffic. All it makes them is a target by law enforcement, because now they're hosting, now they're uh, retaining logs. There's no real benefit, because are they going to sell the data to a marketing agency? No, because they're not going to have that kind of data that any marketing agency is going to be interested in. And there is the real threat in a decentralized VPN that some law enforcement agency, NSA, CIA, or any three-letter agency, will host a variety of nodes on the decentralized VPN protocol to try and capture user traffic, right? So there is that real
Yeah,
threat.
like Tor. Yeah.
Yeah, so there is that real threat that's possible. And so we mitigate that by, Mela mitigates that by um, testing the nodes, and we have a node formula. So how long ago did the node join the network? What is their uptime percent? Are they a residential or data center IP address? And also, there's one other. So we rank the nodes based on those attributes. And we try to, whenever we create a plan that you pay for with Firo or Pivx or whatever, I actually test the nodes myself, and select the quality nodes based on user feedback. So we have a user submitted rating system that when you disconnect from a node, it asks how your service was, rank it from 1 to 10. So we use those scores to try and evaluate the node. So if we notice, like, say 20, 30 nodes prop up on the Sentinel network, and they're in, kind of restricted countries or something, uh, we will look at those and determine, what the risk to a user is of those nodes. And so we definitely mine the data and make sure that any of these kind of ominous or strange nodes that appear. And we did have a user who was running, I think, 700 nodes, and there is correlation between their nodes, because they use a specific kind of moniker that they name their nodes. And they were gaming the system, because white labels like me have to pay nodes up front, and so users can access those nodes on the plans paid by, Monero or Firo or anything like that. So this particular user was gaming the system to get plan incentive payments, and I called them out on it, showed how much they were gaining the system, and we implemented a blacklist of their nodes on the network. They were still accessible within Melee, but they weren't accessible through plans, through monthly subscriptions, right? So they eventually shut down because their revenue dropped to zero. So we do keep an eye out for any threats that could occur from the decentralized area of node hosting.
Right. But ultimately, I mean, like you can, even if you like test the VPNs yourself, you can test them for like responsiveness, speed, and like, general service history. But there's no way you can know whether they are logging or not, right? I mean, obviously, I think it would deter against the casual attacker or someone who comes in like, yeah, let's just try to spam up like 1,000 nodes to try and game the system. But if like someone was like a bit more insidious, a bit more patient, it would be pretty hard to. I mean, it is a problem with all kinds of VPNs where you kind of have to hope that whoever's at the end is not logging traffic, or you have to kind of multi-hop it and hope you don't hit two of the same nodes that are controlled by the same entity, right? Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. So with a centralized VPN, you don't know how trustworthy the administrator of those servers are, right? So they could be logging traffic or doing man-in-the-middle attacks as well. So a multi-hop approach does mitigate those risks, and that is something we are in development of right now. When I say we, Math Nodes or Mela is in development of, where a user can connect to one of our 30 nodes initially, and then connect to any of the Sentinel nodes after that. So the multi-hop does mitigate that risk. Um, so like you said, is that you don't know who's logging traffic when you are using a single exit node. But I think there's not much incentive for node runners on Sentinel to host, one or two nodes and try to log traffic. There's no reason that they would do that, because what are they gaining by doing that? If they host, 100 nodes, then they could get a majority, not a majority, but a large percent of the traffic through Sentinel, through the white label apps, and so they could log those. They could, set logging up on those. So that's what we look for is large scale node runners, and we analyze, uh, the best we can, the risks that they pose to the decentralized network.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that this has been a really interesting conversation. I'm really conscious that we're actually sort of 10 minutes onto the hour. I mean, we had so many different topics to discuss, but actually, I'm really glad we kind of taken the time to go through the ins and outs of this one. I would like to ask just one sort of thing in relation to. I feel like my question is, how would you guys compare yourselves to a centralized service that is privacy focused, such as Proton VPN? So that's a centralized service, but it markets itself on privacy. And I'm not going to say other competitors, but just let's just say in terms of speed and performance, uptime, reliability. How do you guys kind of compare if we use that as a benchmark? I'm just curious to hear.
I think maybe I'm biased, but I think we're much much more resilient to censorship than Proton. So a country in Iran or China or whatever, or even any other country, even your ISP, can blacklist the IP addresses of the servers of Proton. But in Mela and Sentinel, nodes spin up all the time on different IP addresses, so it makes it almost impossible to be able to blacklist every single node, or the RPCs that are used to connect to the nodes. So every blockchain has an RPC that you can request transactions and information from, and submit transactions to. So it makes it really resilient for citizens of countries that or businesses that are restricting your internet traffic. So I think it's much more beneficial on that aspect. Also, back to my point, is that it does the decentralized VPN does reduce the trust barrier, right? So suppose there is 1, 2, 3, or 50 malicious nodes on Sentinel. Um, we will do our best to flag those, but there's some 3,000 nodes now, so it reduces the trust barrier that um, the service that you're using is logging or has a warrant for your internet connection, such as a centralized entity does, you don't know if they've been contacted by law enforcement, and it's very easy for them to log traffic. So back to that point, so I think it compares better on that front, as well as it reduces the trust barrier when you're using some decentralized node to tunnel your traffic through. And also it's better for censorship resistant because there's no static IP addresses that can be blacklisted by countries or businesses or ISPs. So I think that's the benefit overall. Plus, it's blockchain based, and so you have crypto payments. We don't accept fiat in Mela. We did for a way to purchase the native coin to fund their wallet, but I think that kind of opens the door to um, law enforcement requesting information on your end about a particular purchase or something. So we only our main goal is private payments for private internet. So that's why we've been integrating all these privacy coins. And Proton right now doesn't accept Monero, right? So they did say that they're going to, and I believe they actually already started this. I think it was yesterday. So that is good. You want to be able to pay in a privacy coin, specifically if it's a shielded transaction or not. So that's the benefit of the decentralized networks over central providers.
I guess my personal last question is going to be how does the relative performance compare, and also what's the distribution of nodes geographically looking like?
I don't know off the top of my head what the distribution is, but mostly there's, I think, well, here, let me see. I'm just gonna start Mela on my computer here and kind of run off some numbers. The performance is pretty good. So because most of the nodes are hosted by individual citizens and not major corporate entities, the nodes typically run on like a 2 to 4 virtual CPU with about 4 to 8 gigs of RAM. And some people host lower end nodes at they're $5-10 a month or something like that. So the throughput of how many users can connect to a specific node are limited based on the specifications of that server. So Sentinel is looking at ways to produce a specification of the node, like if it's how many CPUs it's running on and the RAM, and we do have a metric for the bandwidth that's available in Mela. It shows the upload speed and download speed. So when a node registers on the blockchain, it does a speed test. So you are aware of how the connection speed is for that. So just basic numbers, there's 23 nodes in Australia, 23 in Bangladesh, 45 in Canada. These are just some numbers. 31 in France, not that you probably want to use France right now. 106 in Germany, 64 in India, 18 in Italy. And there's a bunch of other countries I'm not naming as well. So 23 in Malaysia. And actually to Ruben's point, we have a couple of residential nodes in Malaysia. So 68 Netherlands, and then we'll just do 520 in the United States. So there's over 3,000 nodes right now on the Sentinel blockchain.
Okay, but it sounds like there's a pretty good distribution globally from what you're saying to me, which is pretty cool.
I have a question. You mentioned like it working in China, or is it like it's difficult for China to block? I mean, as far as I know, China uses like deep packet inspection techniques, so they try to identify the VPN traffic and block it through there. And this is something that I know. I mean, it's been a few years since I've been in the VPN business, but it was a lot of work trying to obfuscate that traffic to change its patterns. Like there was like using XOR, using some sort of tunnels and all of that. I was wondering, like, what is does May? Oh gosh, I just forgot how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Melee. Do they? Do you? What is the VPN protocol that you guys are using? Is it WireGuard, OpenVPN, and do you have any tools to kind of at least offer some sort of mitigation against like deep packet inspection, which is actually becoming more and more prevalent in I would say oppressive countries. Yeah.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, we have WireGuard protocol that standard WireGuard, and we'll be switching to WireGuard Amnesia in a future upgrade. But we also have a V2 Ray protocol, which was developed by Chinese engineers about 8 years ago to circumvent the firewall in China, and it has proved successful. You can go to let me see if I can get the address. I think it's v2ray.org. Let me see. No, that's not.
Sorry if I missed. I got.
Oh yeah,
cut off for, like, a
we
big part of
covered it
the-
earlier,
yeah.
but yeah, that essentially is the short of it. So yeah, that it gets around deep packet inspection, so you've got that option.
Yeah, v2ray.com.
Awesome.
So it's called Project V. And I worked with about 3 weeks ago. I was working with an Iranian because Iran has their ISPs use DPI as well, and standard V2 Ray wasn't connecting anymore in Iran. And so we implemented something called fragmentation, where it splits the handshake up into numerous packets. And that was able to circumvent the DPI in Iran, as proved successful by our Iranian user base. So that's implemented right now
That's
in Mail.
awesome.
Yeah. So that it's we did a whole Wireshark analysis of the traffic, and it showed that it was splitting the packets over multiple sessions, and so it works definitely right now in Iran, and hopefully they won't catch on to that anytime soon.
It's been
Yeah, we actually have quite a big Iranian user base, so yeah, that'll be interesting.
okay. I just would say it's coming up on the hour now. I was just wondering if Yen, Yanachar, and Ruben, do you guys have any other questions? Otherwise, open it up to the audience. Yeah.
I had one final question and comment. I think it's been a fantastic discussion, and we've touched a lot on the benefits of Mela over traditional VPNs. But I think it's worth commenting on and talking briefly about the benefit of running any VPN over using your ISP. Isn't it? Basically, when you decide to run a VPN, you're giving some faith into the final exit node or the whoever's running the VPN to not log your data versus giving it to your ISP, right? And ISPs are like notorious. They all log the data, and they log it and they keep it, and they don't even say how long they keep it for. And as far as I know, they use it commercially, not just as available to governments. Maybe. What's your thoughts on that, Freaknik? How bad is it just using an ISP?
Yeah, so let's get down to the essentials, right? So you definitely, when using the internet, you definitely want to use some kind of tunnel, some kind of VPN, because ISPs, when you say they log your data and we don't know how long they keep it for, let's just say no data is ever deleted, right? So nobody's
Right,
gonna sit
fair
there and
enough.
be like,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so
storage is cheap, right?
Yeah.
And they're gonna keep it until there's quantum computers that hack the encryption too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Yep.
it's basically, I liken this to the analysis is if you're walking down the street in a major city and somebody goes, "Hey, what's the address where you live?" Are you gonna tell some random stranger where you live? No. So why would you do that on the internet if you're not protected by VPN, right? Anywhere you go, you're telling your basic location to anybody. It could be a signal call or something like that where your IPs are connected, and so there's security measures as well as privacy to using a VPN. And if you're really paranoid, then you can use Tor or multi-hop protocols as well. But I think back to the essentials, everybody should be using a VPN, whether it's decentralized or centralized. It just benefits your security with interactions and transactions on the internet and anywhere you browse. And so also we have DNS crypt in Mela, so you can turn on DNS crypt, which sends encrypted DNS traffic by those are community hosted as well over a large range. CryptoStorm hosts a bunch of DNS crypt nodes, so you can select your provider and DNS crypt, and you can turn that on. All DNS queries are normally sent through the encrypted tunnel anyway, but if you want more privacy, you can use DNS crypt in our integration of that as well. So DNS traffic as well as logged, as well as your basic connections on the internet. But using a VPN and using DNS crypt, I think, is essential for everybody, for anybody. So,
Thanks. Yep. Insightful.
I just need to tell you, I need to drop off now. I have another meeting, but I just wanted to say thanks, Melee, for like being such a big supporter of Privacy Tech and Privacy Coins. And I'll take my leave first. Please, continue wrapping up or whatever. But I just wanted to give a quick shout out for building such a amazing service, and I'll definitely be trying out Melee more.
Thank you so much, Ruben. I really appreciate hearing that from you.
And I actually just want to thank you for kind of coming out today and taking the time to talk through Mailer with us. I mean, I hadn't heard about the service before, but this has been a really, really good discussion on decentralized VPN architecture. So it's been really informative for me personally. So thank you very much. I feel it's definitely broadened the audience from my perspective.
Thank you. I was hoping we could talk about basic swap, because I use it like like every day basically. So.
Oh yeah. Hey, listen, we're going to get that onto mobile and web platforms and make it, so that literally everyone on Earth can use it by picking up their phone. I don't know. Have you been following that side of things?
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say, and actually with Particle as well, there's the new proposal on the Particle network. So I love Particle as well. So I love the marketplace. The marketplace needs more listings, but it's a great project. And I'm on the computer that has my Particle desktop on it open right now, and I do cold staking and all that as well. So I'm really excited about the proposal to make it hard money as well. So.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. I didn't realize you were a follower. I mean, I think the strategic road we're taking with that, I think from my perspective, I want to get basic swap into so many different services. And then I think we could probably start working towards getting Particle as a marketplace into so many places as well. So there's definitely a strategy there. So thank you for bringing that up.
Right now, like there's XMR Bazaar, which is a good market, but if Particle if there was major listings like on Particle, like on XMR Bazaar, it would go through the roof, because the implementation of the Particle market is the best marketplace there is right now that crypto has seen, in my opinion.
I will be on Monero Talk Saturday to discuss basic swap, just so you're aware.
Awesome! Yeah, I'll try to listen. I'll try to tune in for that.
But also, it's funny you mentioned that. It's something that's been going through my head. Is actually, the road. So this is going off topic, but we definitely want to go in towards a multi-currency future for the Particle marketplace. But first, we want to get the mobile integration stuff done, and we want to make sure the part people who hold the part token. We haven't forgotten about them by any means. I think we want to engineer a win-win situation for everyone. But and I think if you've been following the project that closely, you have been to said all that. I really appreciate that. I think just hopefully that the emergent strategy is obvious if you've been following that. I hope so anyway. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the group today, and I love to hear all the different aspects, and I love to field the questions as best as I can. So thank you so much for having me on this privacy roundtable. I know it was suggested back in February, and we finally got around to it. So I was really thrilled for this, and I'm so glad to be a part of it as for posterity as well. So
yeah. I guess before we wrap up, Yanachar, and to the audience in general, if you've got any questions, now's a really good time.
Oh, it's been a wonderful discussion and very insightful. Thank you for joining us. It's been really a pleasure and an education.
Very well. I don't see any hands up in the audience, so I'm going to assume there's no further questions. I'll check there's no speaker requests either. Okay, to everyone that's been listening, thank you so much. Really appreciate the time you guys have taken to listen to all of us today. Really appreciate the time you've taken to sort of listen to MeileDVPN. Hope you guys go check that out. I definitely will be, it's on my radar now, and I'll definitely be paying more attention to it. And I want to just wish you guys a really long week. There has been so much going on in the world of privacy that's been really antagonistic. It feels like that's an escalating chain of events. I was going to say in the last few weeks, but actually in the last few months, and then in the last couple of years, it just feels like a ramp up. But to kind of hear, the projects that we kind of have hosting come on and getting everyone together, every so often, it's a real reminder that this movement is strong and growing. So thank you once again, guys, for your support. And with that, I will.
Uplifting.
Yes, definitely. So with that, I'm going to end the space. Mailer, I'm so sorry, mate. I forgot your name, by the way. I know the project's name, but
Freaknik.
Freaknik. Thank you so much again for kind of coming on. Yanachar, thank you so much. Ruben, if you catch the end of this and replay, also once again, thank you. And to our audience, I hope you guys have a lovely day. And I shall be ending the space. And again, thank you, Lisi, for organizing this. You are a legend.
Yes.
You are an absolute legend as always. Cool. Catch you soon.
Thank you. Bye.